Welcome to Note Lengths Lesson 3. This time we're going to be looking at not notes per se, but our rests. A rest has the same length of a note, but instead of playing on the piano, for example, you're not playing. The rests tell you when not to play. For example, we could have one bar, if we're in 4/4, that goes like this. Rest, rest, rest. Okay? The reason we have rests is so we know exactly how long we're stopping for. If we didn't have rests, it would be really difficult to play with others because we wouldn't know how long to stop for and it will become very messy very quickly. So, let's have a look at our note lengths and our rests. Start off with, nice easy one, our crotchet or our one beat. Our equivalent as a rest just looks like a little lightning bolt. Okay, so a little lightning bolt is our one beat rest. If we were playing it, it might go something along the lines of rest, rest, rest. Now, let's look at our minim, or our 2-beat note. Our 2-beat rest looks like this. A little black bar coming from the bottom of that third line. So it's coming from the bottom up. That's going to be our 2-beat rest. A 3-beat rest, similar to our note itself, is the same as a 2-beat rest with a dot next to it. Okay, so that's going to be our 3-beat rest. And then finally, doesn't look very good. And then finally, our 4-beat note is going to be a little black bar, similar to our 2 and 3-beat ones, but coming down from the next line up. So coming from the top down. Okay? That's why it's important to recognise ones that go from bottom up or top down. So that's going to be our 4-beat rest. Let's start looking at our quavers then, our more complicated note values. So quaver, if you haven't remembered, is going to be our half-beat note. And for these, we have a little small rest. So it's a little dot. I'll draw it one more time for you. Little dot. And then it's like a little Y down. But it's usually right in the middle of a page, quite small. And last of all, we have a semiquaver. So our quarter beat note. And a semiquaver looks quite similar to our quaver one, except this time, instead of a single dot and a line, a little Y shape, we have 2 dots and a Y shape. So 2 dots and then a Y shape down. It's very uncommon that you'll actually come across a quarter beat rest with most beginner to intermediate music. However, it's useful to be aware of. Let's use a little exercise to practice our note values and their rests. So, similar to our previous exercise, we have 3 empty bars in a 4/4 time signature. So 4 beats in each bar. What I would like you to do is to fit in as many of these notes and their accompanying rests as possible. Now, you won't be able to fit all of them in, but this activity allows you to get quite creative in how you're using your different note values. Let's use an example bar. For this first one, I'm going to have a crotchet, our 1 beat, followed by our 1 beat rest, followed by 2 quavers, followed by a semiquaver. I'm going to move this line along a bit. So let's tally up. So here we have 1 beat rest, 2 quavers equals 1, and a semiquaver. So we're still on the quarter beat now, and that leaves us 3/4 of a beat to finish with. So we're going to put in a half-beat rest and another semiquaver. So semiquaver, semiquaver, that adds up to quarter plus quarter is a half, plus another half is 1. We're getting some maths in now, and that all adds up to 4, which means this first bar is perfectly acceptable. This is going to be a really funky rhythm to play, and it's very, very rare that you'd come across something like this in an actual piece of music. However, it's good to be able to know how the notes can structure themselves. You don't need to do anything as complicated as this in your own bars, but this is a perfectly acceptable example. Another example that is a bit easier, you could do a 3-beat note and a 1-beat rest. Or, if you wanted, you wouldn't typically see this in music, but you could have 2 half-beat rests, because they add up to 1, 1 plus 3 is 4. So that's perfectly fine. In most music pieces, you wouldn't see it written like this, because there'd be no point in dividing it that way. We've got a 4/4 time signature, so typically we're going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in quavers. We'd be counting it in 4. So, as a result, we'd usually just see a 1-beat rest, like this, because there's no reason to subdivide it any further. Give that a go, filling in each of these 3 bars with as many combinations as possible, and I promise you'll get much more adept at recognising these note lengths and even give them a play through. That first bar is going to be very nasty to try and play yourself, so I would suggest start simpler and work up from there. But I'm sure you'll be able to do it with a bit of practice.